Val Kilmer, the enigmatic 80s actor who played Iceman in Top Gun and Jim Morrison in The Doors, battled throat cancer and thought he'd never speak again. Kilmer's path changed unexpectedly due to medical advances and his perseverance. Using cutting-edge AI technology, he regained his voice, continued his creativity, and reconnected with admirers worldwide. His persistence and inventiveness have made him a symbol of optimism and reinvention, showing that the human spirit can overcome insurmountable obstacles. We'll explore Val Kilmer's incredible journey from hardship to become one of Hollywood's most captivating individuals. Signs of stardom for a newcomer. Val Edward Kilmer was born in Los Angeles on December 31, 1959. His father, Eugene Doris Kilmer, was a dealer of aerospace equipment, and his mother, Gladys Swanette Ekstat, was a real estate entrepreneur. Val seems to have grown up surrounded by unique individuals. Kilmer's parents were thus not shocked when he displayed his innate skill. They held him in high regard. Their youngster had a lot of charm and was born to perform. Kilmer began performing at a young age with the help of his family. Then, although still in high school, he began participating in plays and performances because of his underlying talent. A sudden turn of events for young Kilmer. For young Val, everything was going well. He was classmates with Kevin Spacey, another future movie star, at Chatsworth High School. Interestingly, neither man could have predicted what was ahead for them. Kilmer kept making waves even in high school. His influential dramatic acting roles won him recognition. But as his history haunted him, his idyllic upbringing fell apart. Kilmer, then 8 years old, was caught amid his parents' divorce in 1968. It might be devastating for a young kid to see the disintegration of love in his parents' relationship. Kilmer's main solace came from his younger brother, Wesley. Regretfully, Wesley died in 1977 at 15. Everyone was taken aback, and Kilmer was in mourning. Hitting auditions and textbooks. Kilmer once said, "Life is precious, and when someone dies, it's an opportunity to realize how precious it is." Kilmer also attended the Hollywood Professional School while attending Chatsworth High School, making the most of his youth. Teens already employed in the film business could get an education at this well-known institution. There was just a morning operation for the school. They wished for the pupils to be able to attend casting calls and auditions in the afternoons. Kilmer found himself in a problematic predicament among his friends. They must learn how to strike a balance between their academic goals and their acting ambitions. However, Kilmer could still perfect his acting skills without giving up on his high school education. Not all of his contemporaries had the good fortune to be adept at managing their hectic schedules. Creating history at Juilliard. Kilmer was accepted into the esteemed Juilliard School in New York after his high school graduation. This is a private performing arts conservatory, not your typical institution. Interestingly, he was the youngest student ever admitted into the theater division, making his admittance to the institution remarkable. He had yet to learn that it would only be a matter of time before he became famous. However, young Kilmer soon found out that life at Juilliard was challenging. Attending this renowned theatrical school was a luxury, but Kilmer acknowledged that his instruction needed to be improved. Voice instruction was highly valued at the institution. Kilmer and every student in the theatrical department had to practice and do vocal exercises for hours. Reaching new heights on stage. Kilmer was young, so the voice training seemed to be okay. He didn't think it was worth it. As the program progressed, he disagreed with the school's autocratic administration. Kilmer did not want voice training to interfere with his desire to train independently. However, as this little pupil would soon discover, this practice would prove to be a great asset in the future. Juilliard, a prominent performing school for aspiring artists, is known for its demanding curriculum. Kilmer persisted anyway, earning enough to graduate from acting classes with more talent and proficiency than he otherwise would have. Young Kilmer realized he needed more after Juilliard to develop. He began investigating the theatrical scene in New York City. Kilmer was astounded, and before he realized it, he began to establish himself, impressing the fans, agents, and the ladies. Kilmer's outstanding performances were beginning to draw attention. It came as no surprise when he started to wow agents and fans, but it seemed like young Kilmer was drawing attention to his attractive appearance and skill set. Kilmer began to establish himself as a promising actor in the New York City theatrical scene in the early 1980s. However, the young guy soon developed a reputation as a womanizer. Yes, there were a lot of ladies interested in this handsome theatrical star, but one particular woman stuck out. Kilmer and this lady had a unique friendship at this time. It seemed like she would be in Kilmer's life for the remainder of his life. Kilmer was romantically involved with a legendary actress, Cher. In contrast to other celebrity pairs, the two maintained a cordial friendship despite their divergent career goals. Despite their ups and downs, they are there for one another. Hitting it big in the 80s. Kilmer shot to fame not long after he entered the theatrical industry. In the middle of the 1980s, Kilmer's career took off. He had the good fortune to make his big screen debut in the parody espionage film Top Secret in 1984. The folks behind the movie Airplane are the same ones. The motion picture Top Secret is a slapstick comedy which contrasts sharply with Kilmer's typical tragic roles. Kilmer played a gorgeous young man with golden hair and a jaw like the bottom half of a stop sign. It seemed as if this new figure knew the joke. During this time, the attractive male was often the source of all hilarity. Kilmer eventually secured a supporting part in the film Real Genius 1985. However, the movie that catapulted Kilmer to fame was 1986's Top Gun, in which he co-starred with Tom Cruise. Kilmer gained significant recognition in Hollywood and co-starred in this movie. After many difficult years and agonizing school years, everything finally paid off for this person. His chemistry with Michelleifer. Kilmer starred in an ABC after-school special titled One Too Many a year before being cast in Top Gun. Michelleifer, a well-known actress, was also chosen for the series. But as rumors began circulating that the two were secretly in love, this special became a gossip mill. Ultimately, none of the two artists acknowledged that they had a romantic relationship. Kilmer composed a poem about her in 1987, 2 years after the meeting. It's unclear whether Kilmer was motivated by a platonic relationship or a backstage romance when he wrote the poem The Pfeiffer Howls at the Moon. We're probably never going to find out about this. Kilmer's luck with women, however, appeared to be in order. Kilmer had a bizarre dream one night in which his ideal partner stood just outside his door, ready to knock. When Willow led him to Whaley. Kilmer had dreamed about meeting a fascinating, gorgeous lady that night. This lady didn't seem to be your typical woman. In the end, he confessed to being madly in love with her. Kilmer's spirit and heart were so inspired when he opened his eyes that he penned a poem about it. Kilmer knew it was just a stupid fantasy, so he called the poem We've Just Met, but Marry Me, Please, and he never imagined it would come true. However, destiny was eager to show off its magnificence. Kilmer was cast in the beloved dark fantasy film Willow in 1988. He plays a swordsman in his role. Kilmer got to know Warwick Davis and Joanne Whaley on the set. Whaley and Kilmer gradually get to know one another. On the set, they spent time with each other. It was not surprising when they developed a relationship that none of them had anticipated. It seemed as if his fantasy was coming true. More doors opened for the new star. Kilmer and Whaley recognized right away that they clicked. The same year they met in 1988, they fell in love and married. Kilmer found that everything fell into place. His future in cinema seems good. He receives plaudits and critical acclaim for his outstanding performance. He was married to the lady of his dreams, which was what completed the picture. And the doors were about to open. Kilmer was chosen to play the iconic Jim Morrison in Oliver Stone's 1991 movie, The Doors. Kilmer was expected to give the part all he had. Ultimately, he demonstrated his value as he was praised highly for acting and singing in the movie's soundtrack, where he played Morrison. It was not shocking that Kilmer rose to prominence in Hollywood after the release of this movie, but regrettably, there was a cost. The Dangers of Method Acting. After finishing The Doors, Val went to therapy because he couldn't let go of Morrison's persona. Kilmer gave the part his full attention. He spent the year before filming being fully involved in Morrison's world, dressed like him, listening to his music, and observing his speech patterns and mannerisms. He became an expert in 50 Doors songs, perfecting the voice and physical quirks of Jim Morrison. Viewers were so taken aback by Kilmer's depiction of the deceased rock star that some thought he was Jim. It occurs more frequently than one would imagine. Kilmer acknowledged his amazement by remarking, "It still amazes me to this day when I see people with a tattoo of me playing him, not realizing it's not Jim." Even the remaining band members could not tell his voice from the actual Jim Morrison when he performed. Becoming one of Hollywood's heartthrobs. Kilmer never thought he would get to such levels. All he could hope was that this success would continue. Kilmer and Whaley brought their daughter Mercedes into the world in 1991. The two stars were sure they would soon have a beautiful family, and that day had finally arrived. Kilmer felt like he had achieved the pinnacle. But there was much more. He starred in two very successful films in 1993 that went on to become cult favorites. Kilmer portrayed the renowned gunman Doc Holliday in the first movie. Tombstone by George P. Cosmatos was narrated in the film. In the second movie, he portrayed Elvis Presley in Tony Scott and Quentin Tarantino's True Romance. Kilmer was becoming a rising star in Hollywood because of his outstanding performances. He benefited from his status. However, it also raised problems for his field of employment. The hero that people wanted. Kilmer was picking up admirers everywhere. Kilmer is a hottie, thus his casting options are predicted to increase. Unsurprisingly, he was chosen as the lead in movies that were supposed to be blockbusters. The Saint, The Island of Dr. Moreau, and Batman Forever are a few of these movies. Kilmer liked his acting profession, let's face it. Despite his devotion, he is not content with how his film career is going. Kilmer is an actor with classical training, as we previously know. He was born with the theatrical tendencies that came naturally to him. He wanted to play more significant and demanding parts, but his request went unanswered. Kilmer remained the stereotypically attractive hero as the years passed. Suddenly, there were problems with the set. Unbeknownst to his supporters, working with Kilmer becomes more annoying. Many behind-the-scenes observers have noted that working with Kilmer was becoming more challenging. An abrupt change in direction for his profession might impact his responses and thought process. In addition to the remarks, there have been other rumors that he was creating issues in production. Kilmer was reportedly often impolite to his co-stars, even when the camera was not rolling. He said he was being true co-starona. Kilmer was accused by several on the set of not bothering to observe the customs that go along with being on set. Kilmer reportedly got into a heated argument with Oliver Stone about the movie about Jim Morrison's drug usage being glorified. Not unexpectedly, there was another issue before the movie even started. He went off the deep end. Kilmer dedicated himself to method acting while going through the auditioning process for a movie. But in a way, this backfired. They allegedly got too close to a lady during an audition. Stone and the director of casting for the movie saw this. We're scared to say no when you believe that was the last word. Kilmer became more and more emotional by the minute. A settlement with the court resulted from this occurrence. When questioned about the circumstances, Kilmer said that the actress above had assaulted him. The casting director said that both performers were having physical contact with one another when he was asked to describe what he had seen. Everything was clear, and everything was done in a hurry. In an interview, Joel Schumacher referred to Kilmer as psychotic. They were shooting for Batman Forever at the time. Many theories exist as to why Kilmer was removed. They range from Kilmer's aggressive play style to his rigid acting style. But we have learned that George Clooney took his spot. Being replaced by George Clooney. Ultimately, Clooney took Kilmer's spot. But why is this the case? Kilmer first said that problems with his schedule were the reason for the replacement. At the time, he was getting ready for The Saint, another movie. Thus, it hurt his ego to learn that he would be replaced in one of the most extensive comic book series ever. Despite all of Kilmer's controversy, Tim Burton and Michael Schumacher's Batman Forever was the year's highest-grossing movie. At the box office, Batman Forever earned $336.6 million. But Kilmer doesn't care all that much about money. He wanted to use his performances to create art. Kilmer reportedly got into bouts with Schumacher regularly. Thus, the director was finished when he was finished. Kilmer's portrayal of the enigmatic Bruce Wayne did not please him, despite Batman Forever being his most successful movie, as far as box office hits go. It's not the outfit, it's the man. Following his portrayal as Batman, Kilmer rose to fame among his audience and admirers. Warren Beatty sent Kilmer an invitation one day. Kilmer is there to amuse the youngsters and get to know Beatty's kids. Acknowledging the children's fondness for Batman, he donned his Batman outfit. Still, Kilmer was touched by something on that specific day. The children seemed less eager to converse with him. The Batman costume is what has their attention. It dawned on him that they liked the Batman outfit more than he did. Similar to the Batman Forever filming, much information regarding the Island of Dr. Moreau's production began circulating. Kilmer allegedly extinguished his lighted cigarette on a staff member's sideburn. According to actor Kilmer, it was an accident. The cinematographer asked him to blow smoke at a camera crew member, which is what caused it. All of this took place without any cameras being recorded. Who would singe a co-worker with whom he often works nearby, 15 hours a day, for no apparent reason? Insanity, Kilmer explained. A feud with Tom Cruise. In addition to his persistent problems with the two earlier movies we discussed, there was a rumor that he was at odds with Tom Cruise, his co-star in Top Gun. On the movie set, the two were said to be involved in a co-starred conjectured because Cruz favored taking on the significant parts in blockbusters over difficult ones. Kilmer often mentioned Cruz in interviews, which has reinforced these speculations. He usually remarks about his co-stars who lean toward these types of films. In a 1995 interview, Kilmer said he was co-starring against Tom Cruise, but must be able to deal with the business side of movies. When it comes to their connection, nothing is definite. Since Cruz often gets the starring parts, people think he was envious. In addition to his disagreements with the following, he fell out with filmmaker Michael Apted. This incident took place when Thunderheart was being filmed. The fortunate Kilmer seemed to be beginning to encounter a problem with each shooting. And the couple calls it quits. Kilmer was fortunate to have his wife and family, even with the problems he faced due to his typecasting. He was aware that he had reliable backing. Kilmer and Whaley had their second child in 1995. The couple's kid is called Jack. Unfortunately, Kilmer's storybook love story ended abruptly as a storm had struck. The pair began making headlines in 1996 when they declared their separation. It was over, the marriage of 8 years. She was just as upset and saddened as I was. The news did not stop there either. But when kids are involved, you either become friends with respect or mortal enemies. Following their breakup, tabloids began circulating allegations that Kilmer and supermodel Cindy Crawford were romantically involved. An unexpected weakness. Years later, Kilmer said of Crawford, "She's very nice." He said, "A bright girl with a great sense of humor." Despite Kilmer's remarks on Crawford, no one disclosed if the two were dating. Based on rumors and Kilmer's interviews, people can only assume. After Kilmer's divorce, the media was more than glad to portray him as a ladies' man, regardless of the truth. Sadly, there were issues with even this well-liked hunk. He acknowledged that pursuing a love connection under continual public scrutiny was difficult. In his interviews, Kilmer discussed his struggles with romance. Kilmer confessed to having a weakness that no one anticipated of him: romance. "I wish I'd been as dedicated to my career as I was to women," he said. "I had some famous girlfriend. It's inconvenient to be followed around." Was it a failure or freedom? After being replaced in the Batman sequels, Kilmer played alongside Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in the film Heat. But the reality is that Kilmer's Hollywood roles seemed to dry up. No one knew whether it was due to his replacement in the Batman franchise or his difficult attitude. Although he is still acting, many people have noticed he gets fewer roles. Compared to his earlier years, he was successful, getting praise everywhere and being deemed legendary in the film industry. Others view that Kilmer was experiencing his career's failures. Others note it was merely a setback. For Kilmer, it meant more than this negative impression about his job. For him, what was happening was that he was achieving his freedom. It was something he had been craving for a long time now. He wanted to break out of the stereotypical heartthrob typecast. Of course, this led to fewer high-profile movie roles. Interestingly, it was something he was expecting to happen. Falling in love all over again with performing. Although it may have appeared to others that Kilmer was on the decline, he didn't feel that way. Instead, he was free to pursue his artistic interests, precisely what he did with his career. In 2014, for example, Kilmer portrayed writer and humorist Mark Twain in the movie Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. It's interesting to note that the actor-poet Kilmer had a lifelong admiration for Twain, admitting that the writer had always fascinated him. This admiration for the writer became apparent when Kilmer debuted a one-person show titled Citizen Twain. People were not shocked that Kilmer followed his passion, but rather pleased that he was. Kilmer returned to the stage with this play, which offered a humorous glimpse into the legendary writer's mind. Hitting the headlines. The media and tabloids once again singled out the actor Sebastian Kilmer in 2015. This time, the whispers were about his health rather than his alleged difficult behavior or romantic life. The reports included the fact that Kilmer had been hospitalized and that he required emergency surgery on his throat. Neither the actor nor his representatives responded to any of the claims made, and the rumors persisted. In the meantime, Kilmer continued to lead a relatively stable life, concentrating on several film productions and projects. In 2017, he was cast in Thomas Alfredson's The Snowman, where he played the role of investigating officer Gert Rafto. Everyone was taken aback to see the actor in the film. The story behind the voice change. Though people can't get over his peculiar appearance and voice, the rumors about him continued to persist. In 2017, after years of unsubstantiated rumors, Kilmer announced that he had been battling with his health for a few years and had been diagnosed with throat cancer. Fortunately, Kilmer was able to make a full recovery and has survived throat cancer. As the rumors continued to fuel his voice, Kilmer and his party had no choice but to confirm it. It appeared that Kilmer's voice wasn't being used at all in the play. He confirmed that a different actor dubbed over his lines for the play. "I must seal this hole in his neck before talking. It's an obstacle that is very present with whoever sees me," he said, adding that he now has to use a feeding tube for his meals. Despite this, it does not mean that he did not experience the adverse effects of his condition. Regrettably, his tracheotomy will affect his performance, meaning that he will no longer be able to speak naturally. Although this is tragic, Kilmer ensured that this will not be the end of his career just yet, as this Hollywood legend will continue to prove his abilities despite his harrowing experience. A new lease on life and its meaning. Although the years were not kind to him, Kilmer persevered and faced challenges but maintained an optimistic and grateful attitude. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Kilmer said jokingly that his health issues have given him a newfound appreciation for life and that he does not need to pursue a career in acting. "I was too serious," he said. "I'd get upset when things like Oscars and recognition failed to come my way." Kilmer surprised people by agreeing to interviews that would reveal the authentic sound of his drastically changed voice. In recorded interviews, another man was not dubbing his voiceover. Instead, it was the real deal and raw. Thanking the prestigious Juilliard. People would ask Kilmer what he missed most about his voice, and he would answer that I had one, that I didn't laugh like a pirate. The truth was that it was a miracle. After the procedure, he was expected to lose his ability to speak, but he could keep some of it. Kilmer felt grateful for all the voice lessons he had taken years ago at Juilliard. He had nothing but hate for them, but now it seemed to have saved a part of him. Otherwise, he would have lost his voice permanently. It's interesting to note that despite all the unexpected setbacks in his life, Kilmer is still one of the most sought-after performers in Hollywood. Going back to Top Gun. 2018 saw the confirmation of one of Hollywood's beloved cult classics. Kilmer would be reprising his iconic role as Iceman for the much-anticipated Top Gun sequel, with Tom Cruise joining the reunion. Naturally, fans and moviegoers are ecstatic, but it has been decades, so one couldn't help but wonder how it would turn out. Many fans and critics doubted Kilmer's upcoming performance for the role. When you factor in his physical changes, one cannot help but question any potential changes in his acting. Nevertheless, one fan has remained steadfast throughout: Kilmer's daughter, Mercedes. Mercedes Kilmer is his biggest supporter, and she has been vocal about how her father is still acting despite his disadvantages. His personal beliefs. Knowing Kilmer's struggles, fans and critics have questioned how he manages to go on despite everything. In an interview, Mercedes stated, I think that is because he is so well known, it will open more doors for other less well-known actors with different abilities to be able to be hired. Kilmer responded, It was an unspeakable sense of universal support while I was in the hospital. Kilmer mentioned that 2 of my doctors mentioned praying with me for me. Huckleberry, yes he is. After a 5-decade career in performance art, Kilmer was hiding a story. After surgery, he discovered a new fascination with food, which is quite a problem since eating was an issue for him. Now the actor enjoys watching food shows. This includes Top Chef, Chef's Table, and Ugly Delicious. Kilmer's memoir, titled I'm Your Huckleberry, was an instant bestseller. That makes sense, considering everyone was invested in the rumors about his life. This memoir would clarify most of it. Interestingly, in his memoir, Kilmer pays tribute to his ex-lover and longtime friend, Cher. Cher appeared to be the one who helped him get through it all. Kilmer is a man of faith. Kilmer credits his recovery to his faith, which he is proud to practice. However, some people are skeptical of his religion, particularly when someone claims to have healed themselves through prayer. Kilmer also had a history of controversy that made people unmoved by his story. Kilmer asserts that working with his spiritual advisor helped him find the cure he needed, knowing that he needed to be guided to pray his fear away. Through prayer and faith, he explained, his body would no longer manifest outwardly what can be diagnosed as a malady. Kilmer's point is that he is not suffering from illness, but rather the fear of expressing itself. We'll have to take his word for it.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon